Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner YouTube channel. I'm Ian, and with the mid-season draft tomorrow, I thought I would go through a few prospects that Carlton may select in this draft. Look, with the unfortunate timing of the Jacob Wiedering injury, it is clear that key defenders is what we're after. So I've put together a bit of a list of a bunch of guys that we may select in this draft. So look, let's get stuck into it. Here we go. The first man that has just been linked with us every single day, it seems like. It's Sam Durden, and it's interesting. I hadn't heard of this man much in my life, and it seems like the last month he's everywhere. From BT thinking that Corey Durden is this man, and to now getting linked with him, it's crazy. And look, he's a key defender, which is the position that we are definitely after now. He's 26 years old, 198 centimeters, currently playing for Glenelg in the Sandful. He's a former North listed player. He played 22 games for them between 2015 and 2020. He's currently averaging 14.9 disposals and 5.4 marks in the Sandful. He's probably the best mature option out there to play in defense. And look, surprisingly, he's averaging 84% disposal efficiency, which, look, it shows he uses it well. And at the moment, not having Gov out there, not having Wiedering, who used the ball well, sort of set up a lot of the play, this could be a big factor as to why we do select him. Look, we're the number one disposal side in the comp. We know we like the ball in hand. So, yeah, this could be the big reason why I get selected. It's something that excites me a lot. I didn't know that he was such a good user of the ball. So I think he should slot in quite well in that defense. He's got the height, he's got the age, he's got that experience to play AFL already. So, out of all of these options, he's really ready to go. And look, I asked my mate who has a bit of experience in the AFL and State League, this management space, about a lot of these prospects and who he thought was the best one to get. And it really was this man, Sam Durden. He raves a lot about him. He said that, honestly, he was surprised that North delisted him. He thinks he's the best defensive player currently not playing AFL. So that gives me a lot of confidence that this is someone that can slot in straight away, because with our injuries, we really need someone that's ready to go. We don't need this young prospect that can take a little bit of time to develop. And really, out of all of the guys out there, he is the number one guy, the guy we're most linked with. And look, fingers crossed we get him. There's a chance that someone else might get him before our selection, because we've actually been playing pretty well for once and our draft pick isn't one of the early ones. But look, if there is a chance that this man isn't selected, we've got a couple of different options. So I'll take you through some of those guys. And one of them is this man here. So I might struggle a little bit with the pronunciation of this man's name, but I'll give it a go. We'll go with Mutaz Al-Noor. He's another key defender, 20 years old, 192 centimeters, playing for the Northern Bull Ants. Now, out of all these guys on this list, probably the one I've seen the most of. I follow the Bull Ants quite a lot, obviously with their ties with Carlton in the past. And it does really impress me. He's this young prospect, incredibly agile, and has one of the best leaps I have seen. And look, he plays as that super agile intercept defender, averaging 17.7 disposals this season, 6.2 marks, which is really impressive. And yeah, a lot of AFL clubs have really been keeping an eye on this guy because his improvement this season from last year has just been so rapid. The issue, I guess, I have with him, as much as I'll talk him up, is his age and his body. I'm just not sure he's 100% ready to go, ready to jump in. Has a lot of potential, which is why a lot of AFL clubs are looking at him. But I guess with what our needs are right now, needing someone that can plug in and play straight away, I'm just not sure he is that. It might be someone that we maybe look at with our second selection as someone that we can maybe develop. But again, I think other clubs maybe might select him before us. He might not even be there at our selection. But yeah, with his height, being that third tall, not being that key defender, being a bit young, I just think that there might be some better options given our needs at the moment. And I guess one of those players is this man right here, Callan Dawson. He's 24 years of age, 194 centimeters, currently playing at Williamstown. And he's an interesting one. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities at VFL level. Charlie Dean gets picked up from Williamstown to Collingwood this season, and it's allowed him a bit more opportunity. And he has shown a lot of improvement since finally getting his chance at VFL level. He's a strong intercept defender, averaging 12.5 disposals, 6.6 marks, which is really impressive. And he also loves to be that intercept player that can then rebound as well. So tends to use it by foot really well, which much like our man Durden really excites me as a prospect. He was someone that has kind of been linked to us a little bit in the last couple of days as well. A name you might have heard sprinkled about, and it's honestly not a bad option. 24 years of age, as I mentioned. So he's at that point where he's growing a little bit. He's growing into his body, and he could be someone that is a bit more ready to go. He's a bit more of a mature age compared to some of the other young prospects that I will mention. So definitely keep your eye out for him if maybe your Durden isn't selected, or maybe we get him with our, I guess, second pick there, because we do have the two of them, and I think we really will need them. Next guy's quite interesting, to be honest. It is James Blank. He's a key defender, 22 years old, 195 centimeters. So he's got that height about him. Currently playing for the Box Hill Hawks in the VFL. Super, super strong marking defender. Has improved quite a lot since his draft year. Averaging the 9.1 disposals, 2.8 marks. So maybe not as much as some of the other prospects, but I do really like what he is. He having a bit of a breakout patch in the VFL from sort of last year and this year as well. And as you can see on the slide there, he was wanted by Hawthorn in the SSP period. They wanted him to be basically a train-on player, but the AFL actually didn't allow it because he didn't nominate for the previous AFL draft, which meant he was ineligible. But it does show that being Box Hill, being that Hawthorn affiliate, that they obviously rate him. They think he is of a potential AFL standard. So I honestly think that he's a decent option. He's got that youth behind him. He's got that potential ceiling. But again, the issue I find with him is he ready to come straight in? That's probably going to be my concern with him, given our needs. But he is a name that I have seen linked with us as a potential get for us. Definitely is going to be a good player, but it's just whether he is that now, which is probably my worry. Another one here is Michael Hartley, a name that you might be a bit familiar with. Is another key defender, 28 years old. He's definitely the most mature option out of everyone on my list, 198 centimeters. So he's got the height, currently playing for Collingwood's VFL team. He's got the AFL experience, 44 games at Essendon, 5 at Hawthorn before being delisted at the end of last season. So yeah, he's definitely the most experienced out of all these options, averaging 9 disposals this year, 2 marks, which isn't honestly amazing. He's not setting the world alight for another recall to have a third stint in the AFL, but he's that ready-made option who could do a job with us at some sort of AFL standard. Has the height, age is perfect. He's definitely the most sort of short-term option. I wouldn't see us probably keeping him on the list going into next season, which might mean that we do pass on him. It sounds like we want someone that we can plug in now, but has the potential to keep going for us. We don't really want to just waste a list spot, which might see us, as I mentioned, pass on a guy like Michael Hartley. But I guess out of all the names going about and looking at our needs right now of someone that we know can play AFL, can come in straight away, because at the moment it's really just Brody Kemp as that second defender. Marchbank not really ready to go. Wouldn't surprise me if we go a guy like Hartley that we know what we're going to get. He can play of that AFL standard. But yeah, there's probably a couple of reasons why we maybe might pass on him, just that ceiling issue. Another one here is Jack Maybaum, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Another key defender, 24 years old, 193 centimeters, so a little bit on that shorter side, currently playing for Coburg. And you'll see there he's in a Sydney Swans jumper, and that is because he is a former Sydney Swans listed player between 2017 and 2019. Didn't actually play a game there, had a lot of injury issues, did his ACL at one stage, so really didn't get much of a chance, but he's gone away. He's applied himself really well for Coburg, averaging the 15.6 disposals this year, 6.3 marks. He really is that marking intercept defender. He's a little bit undersized, so yeah, he's a bit more suited for that third tall intercept role rather than the key defender. But yeah, he's honestly one of the better players that's not in the AFL at the moment that really would be ready to go with his age and experience. The issue again with him is just whether we go for that smaller option, that third tall, rather than the big key. Someone that I wouldn't be surprised if we go with our second selection, get that key tall that is ready to go, and then go someone that is maybe that third tall, because he really has impressed me with what he's done in the VFL since being delisted by Sydney. But yeah, question mark probably on our needs, whether he's just not tall enough. And maybe we want a bit more versatility of someone that can maybe play a few different positions, which goes on to my next guy. And this is Max Ramsden. We're now looking at Ruckman. We're going to a different position because we know we don't have Pitnet. Murkov's injured and probably not ready to go. So do we need someone to help TDK in the ruck? At the moment, it's J-Sauce. It's Paddy Cripps, which I don't love. So do we need to go someone that can play in the ruck? And this guy is the hot prospect at the moment. He's 19 years old, 202 centimeters. So he's a big boy. Currently playing for Sandringham Dragons. So he's not playing against men at the moment. He's still playing against kids. He overlooked in last year's draft, but he's been one of the ones that has improved so much since last year. It's been phenomenal what he's been able to do this year. He's probably the best young ruckman prospect. Really not in the AFL. He's averaging the 14.5 disposals, 19 hitouts. And yeah, as I mentioned, he's showing so much rapid improvement from his draft year last year. One of the hot prospects, someone that a lot of AFL clubs have been linked to. The issue again with him, like some of these younger players, is he's just not ready to go. And we've been talking about Murkov and how he's a bit green, not ready to jump in. I just don't think Max Ramsden is ready to go. And I don't think with our injuries and knees, that suits us. But with his improvement, he's definitely going to be one for the future. He might not even be available at our selection because of that. I think a lot of teams will take a stab at him. If we didn't have the injuries, he's honestly someone I'd love to see because I think his ceiling so high. He could be one of the next future massive ruckmans in the competition. But as I've said multiple times in this episode, we need someone that can go right now, and it's just not him. So is there some more mature ruck options out there that aren't on an AFL list? And I think I've found someone here that just might be. His name is Bryn Teakle. He is 22 years old, 203 centimeters, currently playing for East Fremantle. So he's playing in the SANFL, a bit of a developing ruck, but he is at least getting that experience playing against men. He's probably the second best ruck option out there as far as ceiling is concerned at the moment, being a little bit mature than your Ramsden, averaging the 14.7 disposals, 16.8 hitouts. Also can go and spend some time forward. You see there, he's only averaging the one goal, which isn't amazing, but at least he can sort of go in the ruck, go forward, is a little bit more versatile at the moment and has that bigger body, which I kind of like. It allows TDK to get freed up a little bit in the ruck. Both of them can sort of swing forward. You can sort of even the time out there. Probably doesn't have that ceiling of your Ramsden that I mentioned, but he's probably that little bit more ready to go and still is 22 years old. He's got a lot of development and he has improved quite a lot over the last year or so, which shows that who knows, maybe this is a prospect we go towards. Would be an interesting option to go. I think there's probably a couple of other mature players that I would go for over him. And I'm going to jump straight into him because it's Connor Ballenden. He's been linked with us quite a bit recently. He is, of course, a ruckman, can go forward, can even go in defense, and I'll get into that. He's 23 years old, 200 centimeters, currently applying his trade for the Woodville West Torrens. Former Brisbane Lions player. He got the 2 games, not a lot in his time there, but he's now been impressing quite a lot this year in the SANFL. He's playing mainly a ruck role with some time spent forward. 16.9 disposals is his average this year with 19.6 hitouts and getting the goal a game. He was mainly drafted as a forward. He has kicked 7 goals in 7 games this season, but as I mentioned, he's been playing a lot more as a ruckman for the Eagles. Has played some defense for Brisbane. Look, I don't think he was amazing, and that's honestly not the position I would put him in at all. I would much prefer him to be this ruckman that can go forward, but his versatile does kind of excite me. He's definitely the best mature option for ruck, and knowing he can go forward and potentially down back probably makes him the best option apart from Sam Durden. And as I mentioned, we've been strongly linked with him, which is just great. He can, much like Teakle, can go forward and allow us to free up the ruck situation, which is it's a bit of an issue. We're not winning a lot of hitouts there. TDK is doing a job. JSOS doing a job. Cripper doing a job. But I think he's, that best mature option that can switch with TDK. And compared to Teakle and Ramsden, I think he can do a better job. And if you went the Teakle-Ramsden route, I think that you're looking at TDK as your main ruck. They spend some time forward and chop in Whereas with a Ballenden, I can honestly see him being a bit more of the main ruck, with TDK spending more time as that forward rather than TDK being the main one. And look, it's an interesting part of his potential selection here is he has put some terms on signing him in the draft, which you're allowed to do. Not many players have done, but basically the standard contract length that most of these players have nominated for is till the end of the season, which means you can kind of plug them in. And if you don't like what they've done, you can get rid of them. Connor Ballenden has put on at least an 18-month contract length, which means if you sign him up in the draft, you have to keep him until the end of next season, which makes things quite interesting. And he's also put some financial terms on there. I'm not too sure what that is, but it's definitely going to be more than the standard contract, which do you go for him because he's put these demands there? Can you afford him? Do you think he's going to be that long-term prospect? He doesn't want to be just chosen and then thrown out of the system by the end of the year. He wants a bit more stability, which, all the power to him. So yeah, that's going to be the interesting point where do we select him knowing that we're going to have to really commit to him? It could actually work out in our favor, however, with a lot of other clubs going, maybe we don't want to do that. And then he could be available at a later selection because we've got that second selection, and there's a chance that he maybe falls to us just because of that. So that's one to keep your eye out for. He's probably my second favorite selection here, apart from your Sam Durden. Just with that maturity and versatility, I think it sort of fixes all of our issues, and at least we know he's of some AFL level. But kind of speaking of forwards and guys that can do a bit of a job, let's go into them. And one of those is the forward Jacob Bauer. He's a bit more of a medium key size forward. He's 19 years old, 191 centimeters, so on the shorter side of things, currently playing for North Adelaide. He is someone, however, that has impressed a lot this season. He's an athletic marking forward who can play above his height because of his athleticism. But as I said, at 191, it might not be exactly what we're looking for. He was a former Sydney Academy player, so a little bit of experience in a bit of an AFL system. He's averaging the 8.5 disposals as a forward, which isn't a lot, but averaging 2.7 goals. So he's getting a lot of reward for his disposals. And look, earlier in the Sandful, and this is why he's such a hot prospect, he kicked in his first 3 games, he kicked 13 goals for. That is just crazy. And by his first 5 games, he'd kicked 15 goals. So he's definitely one that can hit the scoreboard with his limited disposals. And look, a lot of teams have been looking at him, and a couple have even said that because he reads the ball so well, because he's so good overhead, he could potentially be swung into defense. Knowing his age, he's still maturing. This could be an option for us, but I think that would just take us a little bit of time and development. Might not be what we're after, needing someone that can jump in right now. Knowing he's still only 19 years old, I'm not sure he has the body to just jump in straight away. And because a lot of other clubs have been quite linked to him, I'm not sure he's even going to be available at our selection. And if we didn't have the injury to Wiedering, he would have been someone I would have loved to earmark as just a bit more versatility in being maybe an intercept defender, going down forward, kicking goals. We know without Harry, and we really don't have that third tall at all. Gov's been moved down back. I love the prospect of him. But yeah, I guess with our issues at the moment and our injuries, it's probably one we don't have a look at. But let's have a look at the next selection here. This one's... it's not my favorite, but I thought I'd throw him in mainly for the reason that he is in our reserves team, so we would know him well. It is, of course, a name that you're probably familiar with. It's Jesse Glass-McCasker. He's a key forward, key defender, can spend some time in the ruck. Definitely that mature option who would be ready to go. He's 25 years old, 196 centimeters, as I mentioned, playing for our reserves team. He was originally listed as a Carlton player between 2016 and 2018. So our team's got to know this man well from his time on the list and then also in the VFL, averaging the 8.6 disposals, but 0.4 goals does not excite me. Originally, he was drafted as a key defender, but he has been playing a lot more as a key forward. He kicked 7 goals out of 9 games last year for Footscray. He's come over to us. He's kicked 3 in 7. It's just not exciting. I know he has played some time in the ruck, sort of chopping out a little bit. And he does have that versatility, knowing he can play in defense, play forward, play a bit of ruck, which is, if you look at that, on face value, the three positions, he's got the height, he's got the age profile, he spent time in an AFL system. He ticks a lot of boxes, but I'm just not sure his form warrants the selection right now. And I don't love the pick. There's a lot of other guys I'd prefer us to go for, whether that be the Ballandons, the Durdens, that have that bit of more maturity, or even just a prospect that has a bit more ceiling that's really been the shining light this season. I just don't think he's the right guy. But again, knowing our list management would know him well, they'd be able to probably make the right call on this. And if they select him, they would know better than I would. So he's someone that it wouldn't surprise me just because he's under our nose. But yeah, I think there's just a lot of other players. But I guess speaking of those that we would know quite well, the last person on my list, and this one's a bit interesting because he's not a key position player. It is our midfielder. It is Will Hayes. Now, he's 26 years of age, that mature body, 181 centimeters, and he's currently playing in our VFL team. So much like McCasker, we would know him probably better than most. He did play for the Doggies. He played 11 games there, and he's currently just been probably the best player in our VFL team this season, averaging the 31.7 disposals, 4.3 tackles, and 4.9 marks, which shows he's really getting around the ground and doing a lot. What impresses me the most about a Will Hayes is he can play inside midfield, but he can be played and utilized on the outside, which gives him a bit of versatility. It's something that a lot of our midfielders don't have. I think an issue that we've been speaking about a lot on the pod this year is a lot of our midfielders, they're either inside or they play on the outside. There's not a lot of positions you can kind of chuck them in. And that's where Will Hayes comes in for me. And really, he's the one that's put his hand up in the VFL as he probably should be on an AFL list somewhere. But yeah, look, he just might not be what we need. We probably don't need another midfielder. But I'll maybe give you some arguments on why we do need another midfielder, because the only other one on our list that isn't in the ones at the moment is Paddy Dow, and he has been playing better than Dowie in the VFL. And look, if Dow does go at the end of the season, which is not something I necessarily want, we're kind of left with no cover. And knowing that we're such a heavily contested side and we rely so heavy on our midfield, it wouldn't surprise me if we do go that mature body that we can slot in and be that versatile guy. You can maybe chuck him on the wing. You can chuck him inside if there's injuries. Before Wiedering went down, I thought he was probably nailed on to go with our second pick. I don't think anyone else is really looking at him in the mid-season draft. But now that Wiedering's gone down, for me, if I'm making the decisions, I think we need to go tall with both of our picks. I'd be going a key defender with our first, and then maybe looking at someone that can cover a few different positions that has maybe a bit of a ceiling as well with that selection. But yeah, I think I just had to chuck in Will Hayes because his form definitely warrants that selection. And I don't know if he's injured. It was a little bit weird. He sort of hasn't played the last couple of games in the VFL. And I remember we did that with Murkov to try and hide him. So maybe we could get him. And maybe that's my conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat on there as maybe why we could select him. But yeah, as I mentioned, I just think with our injuries at the moment to key position talent, we just have no one left. And you can't play him full forward. You can't play him full back. He's definitely not going in the ruck. So we may pass on, a Will Hayes. But I've gone through all the prospects there. I've laid out some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses. I want you guys to let me know in the comments who we should target. What prospects out of everyone I named did you like the most? And also, is there anyone else that is outside of the AFL that I didn't mention that we'd like to see us select in this mid-season draft? Definitely drop them all below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But look, that's pretty much going to wrap up, I guess, this little impromptu YouTube video here. I just thought because the podcast coming out a little bit late, we're recording it tonight, which is Tuesday, so it should be out early Wednesday morning. Probably wasn't going to get the chance to go through a lot of these guys that I've done my 1 week's research, which means I'm an absolute expert in all of these players. So I thought, I'd get a little video together, go through the prospects and let you guys know who we may be selecting in the mid-season draft, because Jesus, we just need bodies. I don't know who it is, but we need some bodies to come in. But yes, keep your eyes peeled for the podcast. Drop everything in the comments, that all these prospects that you like, and who you guys would select. So look, I'm going to go through some plugs now. Remember to subscribe to stay up to date with everything Navy Blue Corner related. Let me know if you like these little impromptu videos. I quite like doing them. I do so much random research throughout the season. So yeah, let me know if you enjoy them, and follow on socials at Navy Blue Corner to keep up to date with everything related to the podcast and the YouTube spaces. But look, I'm going to wrap it up there. Stay safe. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.